Hello and welcome to Active Claremont's April membership meeting. Tonight's meeting is going to be a little bit of a different format. We're not going to have regular announcements like we normally would. In the interest of time, really want to get through the content of this meeting and this video as quickly as possible and get to questions that you might have and more importantly answers, if I have any, for those questions. The first two tenets of Active Claremont's mission statement are to advocate communication and understanding between Claremont citizens and their local government, and to promote public awareness of and interest in local issues. We weren't able to meet as a group last month, but the board feels that it's important, now more than ever, to stand by these tenets by resuming meetings, even if it has to be in this remote electronic format. Thank you for taking time to join us tonight. I'm going to use this month's meeting to help people who aren't familiar with social media platforms learn a little more about how to use them. And next month, we plan to live stream a meeting very similar to this with a speaker from Claremont's Chamber of Commerce. So without any further ado, let's get into our meeting, which is going to be social media, major platforms, and what you can do with them. So we're going to be going over 5 social media platforms tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about them. I'm going to focus on 3 of them in particular and kind of go over some of the features and why people might use them. And then specifically, we're going to go over 2 social media platforms together. I'm going to show you how I use and how Active Claremont uses those social media platforms. So let's go into the first platform we're going to talk about is Facebook. Facebook has 2.5 billion active monthly users. Facebook was not the first social media platform, but nowadays is considered sort of the original platform in terms of modern features. The platforms that came before them were a little more focused, and as Facebook has grown over time and integrated different features, both by acquiring other social media platforms and just growing natively, as well as responding to competition from other social media platforms, they're kind of the standard today. Again, like I said, it's probably not the best word to say that they were the original. They certainly weren't. But nowadays they're considered the standard for social media. And we're going to go over Facebook more in depth later. Twitter, everybody's heard of Twitter. Twitter usually makes the news. The posts are usually covered by major political platform or political figures. But you might be surprised to learn that Twitter is much, much smaller than you might think. They have about 330 million, that's billion with an M, active monthly users. Much, much smaller, especially given how prominent the name is and tweets are. We will be talking a little bit more about Twitter, although we won't be focusing on Twitter on how to use it. LinkedIn is more of a business professionals social media platform. This is a great way for professionals in the same industry to connect. One of the major complaints that people have with LinkedIn is, especially nowadays, it seems to be inundated with recruiting. So where it is very useful if you're looking to network and connect with other people in the same industry or doing the same work, or maybe in an industry that you'd like to get into for the working professional. That's what LinkedIn's really designed for. Sharing articles and things like that, joining groups. But the downside there is there's a lot of sales, basically, a lot of recruiters contacting you. So a lot of people don't like it for that reason. They have about 310 million active monthly users. We are going to be going over Instagram. Now, Instagram is owned by Facebook. Facebook acquired Instagram a few years, many years back now. And they integrated Instagram's features into Facebook's architecture. And so anybody that has a Facebook account can connect their account to Instagram and automatically have an Instagram account too. And you can share, if you post something on Instagram, you can have that automatically be shared to Facebook. You can also automatically share from Instagram to Twitter. And there's another platform, I believe. I wasn't prepared to talk about that network in this meeting. But Instagram is definitely a very popular option. Instagram has 1 billion active monthly users. So not quite as big as Facebook, but much, much, much larger than even Twitter. And then Snapchat is sort of an Instagram light version. A lot of younger people really flock to Snapchat because the features are very similar to Instagram, but the benefit is that posts disappear over time, so there's not so much to manage. You don't necessarily have a huge profile of past posts and things like that to curate. And Snapchat has about 360 million active monthly users. So now we're going to drill down into the three that I want to talk about tonight: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The first that we're going to talk about is Facebook. Like we talked about, 2.5 billion active monthly users. They're the standard blueprint for social media platforms today. They're very, very largely expanded from the original purpose that Mark Zuckerberg had when he designed Facebook and what he was going for. It has branched out into just a monster of features, and it all centers around the news feed. That's what's called the news feed. That's and I'm going to show you a little later, but that's where all the posts of people that you follow and friends of yours, when they post something on Facebook, those posts show up on what's called a news feed. And that's, you can scroll through that news feed and see pictures and videos and links to articles and all sorts of other things. You can create polls. You can create all sorts of different things in the news feed. And as I already mentioned, the people, when you network with people on Facebook, if you network with another person, then that's called being a friend. And if you follow an organization, for example, you are a follower of that organization or that brand or the business or a celebrity, something like that. So friends are more like private profiles, and followers are more for businesses that are public profiles, and you want to see stuff, but it's a little less engagement than with friends. And also with friends, there's a way to private your account so that only friends can see your information and the things that you post. Whereas with followers, as I said, those pages are typically public. So those posts just are able to be seen even if you don't have a Facebook account sometimes. The big thing I wanted to focus on with Facebook in particular is the video and photo albums. They have, typically when you post on Facebook, you can post a large amount of photos, or organize photos into albums, so that people that go to Disneyland a lot might just have one album for just their just their Disneyland photos, and that all goes into one album, and it could have hundreds of photos in it. Same with videos, and we're going to talk about the differences between that and something like Instagram, for example. There's also a messaging app on Facebook. When you're on the computer, when you're on the PC, it's automatically built into the website, so you can access that. And on a mobile phone, for example, it's a separate app. It is still connected to your Facebook account, but they are two different apps. But messaging is basically a way to communicate with an individual, or you can set up groups. I think I have this on another bullet point here. You can set up groups and group messaging, and so you could have all of your family in one message, and you just post in there, and everybody posts responses, and you kind of get updates on how things are going with other people. And in Messenger, you can also share photos and videos and links. It's kind of like a mini profile that's private that other people can't see. Whereas if you post something on Facebook and you and another friend might be talking back and forth, other friends of yours might be able to see that conversation. Messenger is a way for you to have that conversation in private. Basically, it's more like a messaging. It is a messaging app like text message or email, more private. Now let's go over Twitter. Again, lots of people have heard of Twitter. 330 active monthly users. Twitter is really designed to be sort of Facebook on the go. I want to say that Twitter came about before Facebook bought Instagram, and so Twitter's main purpose when they first started was to compete with Facebook on a more limited basis. So for people really with, it was optimized for mobile phones, for example. And so you may not have on a mobile phone, especially at the time when they launched, you don't have time on a phone to go through 400 photos of Disneyland. I just want to quick connect with people, share a thought, share an article, share a video, share a photo or two, but not, 400. Something like that. So Twitter is really designed for the person on the go, to be quick and easy for people to go through and quick for you to get there. You're limited by the number of characters that you can post. So on Facebook, you could have a long article in the comment section and post just a very long article or something for someone to read, whereas Twitter is a lot more shortened. And there are companies now that have extended that, and Twitter themselves have extended the character limit for how much you can post. It has grown because users use Twitter a little bit differently than when they originally launched. But it's still very largely kind of the same format, just a streamlined, quick version of Facebook with emphasis on text. It's just you're talking about sharing a thought, sharing an idea, sharing a comment that you have, and people responding to that. While you can share photos and videos and things like that, it's not so much what Twitter had in mind when they came up with their idea. Instead of calling it the news feed, Twitter calls it their Twitter feed. That's limited text, so you can only post, I think they're up to 240. Somebody can correct me. I think it's 240. So I don't have a Twitter account, so I'm one of the billion Facebook users that have not come over to Twitter. So they're limited text. You can post photos, you can post videos, you can post articles, but again, it's really designed to be streamlined, really designed to fit onto a phone, a smaller screen, not to be accessed as much on a computer, although you can access it via a computer. It's really designed for the person on the go and to get a thought or something out there as soon as you have it, as opposed to I need to run home and turn on my computer so I can post about this. Really designed to fit on your phone. So think about that. Even though things have really gone mobile as time has gone on, when Twitter first launched, that was their idea. So on Twitter, instead of having friends, you have followers. And they have direct messaging is what they call their messenger app, or you'll hear the phrase DMs. This is direct messaging. So it's that private messaging with followers and other people that are on Twitter. You can send direct messages to people, but they don't necessarily have to respond. And so you can send to people that you aren't necessarily connected to. But there is limitations on that too. And Twitter, if I'm not mistaken, is where the phrase really hashtags came from. And hashtags are things that you can use now on Facebook and Instagram and all these other platforms. It's really become a thing. And I believe that started basically with Twitter. So in order to group messages, if you wanted to, so for example, right now we have this crisis that's going on. So if you wanted to use the hashtag with the name of the crisis or something similar, or using volunteers and things like that, when you connect those hashtags, when you use the number sign, the pound sign, that's now called a hashtag sign, and the text that comes right after that is what those messages get connected to. So if you search on Twitter, for example, and now you can just search anywhere on Google, you could type in a hashtag and type in the name of the hashtag that you're looking for, and messages will come up, the results will come up of messages that are similar to that topic. So the way to think of that is it's like a topic or a genre. Something like that, where you want to connect multiple messages together, and this where global movements come from of users sharing the same hashtag, sharing a post, and using the same hashtag. Those all get grouped together, and so that if you search by that, you can see all those messages. And so that's how you kind of think of Twitter. That's really what Twitter has contributed to the social media world, the landscape. So last, we're going to talk about Instagram. Instagram has 1 billion active monthly users. A lot of those users are cross-platform with Facebook. I, for example, use Instagram and Facebook. There's image editing. What they're really known for is filters. You can take a picture and apply different filters to those pictures and do different things. Facebook does have a version of this too. Again, a lot of the features of Facebook, for example, are also in Instagram and vice versa. When Facebook bought Instagram, they took a lot of the platforms, features and ideas that Instagram had and things that people really liked, and integrated that over into Facebook too, though on more of a limited basis. Instagram's still pretty robust in terms of your ability to edit and do different things. They have private messaging similar to direct messaging and the Facebook Messenger. You could private message. It's a little different than what you are used to on Facebook, where it's more like almost like sending an email. Instagram is a little different. So private messaging, you can tag, what's called tagging your friends. So if you have a group of 3 people in a photo, for example, and you're one of the people and you want to tag the other 2 so that they can see that you tagged them, and then other people can see that you were all together. And that's really part of the networking of getting people together. And so when you tag people, they get a message in the private messaging that you tagged them, and then they can like that. That's a little different than how Facebook operates. You don't necessarily send the person that notification, but if you do that action, that tagging, they automatically get a notification through private messaging. So that's sort of where Instagram's coming from. They also use hashtags. So if you take a picture and you want to tag Claremont Village, for example, I'm hanging out at Claremont Village, and so I'm going to tag Claremont Village, or Claremont Colleges, or another one. And so same thing as Twitter and also on Facebook. And like I said, nowadays you can just Google search results for hashtags and see all the hashtags across multiple platforms. Even YouTube does hashtags. So if you want to see similar content to, I want to see all the photos that were taken in and around the village and all the places all the pictures that people tagged themselves being at the village. I want to go through that and see those things. So that's how Instagram operates. They also have live streaming. Obviously, YouTube has live streaming. Facebook has live streaming. But Instagram has what's called Instagram Live, and there's different features. That's part of the story that Instagram has, and that's the big thing that Snapchat came with. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Instagram kind of shadily copied Snapchat's story idea, and the story idea is separate from your profile. So when you post something on Instagram, it is saved as a post and is saved for people that may not see it right away, maybe won't see it for a couple of days. It still stays on your profile. A story is really more for 24 hours. You're just showing people. You can do videos, photos, kind of show people where you are, what you're doing, any exciting stuff like that. And then in 24 hours, once you post that to your story, in 24 hours, it will disappear. And that's very, very similar to how Snapchat just naturally operates. And so when Instagram integrated this feature, they were accused of basically just copying what Snapchat already does and did. And Instagram has kind of expanded on the idea a little bit. and you can do additional things. We share our meetings usually are live streamed on Instagram. So if you're not able to come and be in the room at the time, you can watch us on Instagram. We also live stream to Facebook when possible, and obviously now we're live streaming on YouTube. Every platform kind of handles it differently, and big businesses and organizations like that will simultaneously stream to multiple platforms so they can cast the widest net. It doesn't matter if you're on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever, you'll get a notification that, hey, they're doing something over here, and go check out their video. And so that's the live streaming and story elements of Instagram. Again, disappearing photos and videos, just like Snapchat. Basically, all of the things that you like about Snapchat, except it's owned by Facebook. That's Instagram. They also launched IGTV, Instagram TV. Instagram TV, so with your stories and with Instagram, when you post a video, your stories are a little bit different, but you can only post 1 minute of video to your Instagram profile. On Facebook, that's different. You can post longer videos. You can go live and post longer videos. With Instagram stories, you can post longer videos, but it might chop it up into multiple stories. I think it's about 30 seconds or 27 seconds of time, and then it breaks it into a different chapter is a way to think of it. And that's, you can fast forward and rewind if you're watching a long story. So a lot of Instagram creators and people that use that as more of like a business might share their entire day, just snippets of their entire day, and share different things in their story, so you can skip through the day and see what they're up to. With Instagram TV, you can post longer videos, longer than a minute, and I think up to an hour if you have a business account or like an organization account. And I think it's 10 minutes for a personal account. I'm not 100% sure on that. It's more of a new feature. It's not new, but it's still new to me and new to us as Active Claremont. We don't use it as much because there's other ways. If you have like a YouTube channel, for example, that's where longer videos tend to go. There's a lot of, like I said, competition. So Instagram TV is trying to compete with YouTube. Facebook has a platform or a feature called Watch. So you can host watch parties where you're watching a video and you can send it out to other friends and watch together and comment and see each other's comments while you're watching this video. These are all competitive responses to places like YouTube. So I think now, as I double check here, I believe I wanted to, that comes to the end of the presentation portion. And before we get into question and answer, I wanted to actually go over these two platforms a little more in detail. So bear with me while I bring this up. We can go over, for example, let's go over this first. So here is Facebook. This is what Facebook looks like on the computer. So when you come to the computer, it kind of formats to the screen size that you have here. And down the middle, you have these links off to the side. So if you wanted to go and see about Active Claremont, this is our Facebook page. And if you wanted to read about Active Claremont, you could go there and you can see our information. And here's a little map of where we're saying that we're located. And you can email us and go to our website and all sorts of great things. When we host events, when we post different events, here's a list of all the events that we've hosted in the past, and any future events that are upcoming would be up at the top here. These obviously had to get canceled. I gotta update that. Photos, here's what I was talking about with albums. So even though I clicked on photos, it takes me into the albums. And so you can see that these are photos that I've posted on our timeline, the news feed. These are photos that I posted on Instagram that I then cross-posted and shared with Facebook. These are our profile pictures right here. These are all the profile pictures that we've had, and that's an automatic. These are all automatic albums that are created just by changing your profile picture. Your old profile picture gets saved in here unless you go in there and delete it. And the same with the cover photo, which is at the top here, goes into these albums down here. Same thing with videos. So we've hosted videos. You can upload a new video here. And then here are all the videos that we've posted in the past. Here are our past meetings. The Pomona Valley Audubon Society, Fairplex over here, City Council Candidates Forum. You can go back, and we streamed these live at the time, but now they're saved here. And so if you want to go back and revisit, the City Council Candidates Forum, go back and check and see what, City Council candidates were running on at the time, what they said about political issues and things like that. This is archived, even though we streamed it live. It's been saved here, and you can see this was over a year ago. This was it just told me here on September 21st in 2018. Reviews, posts, and community. You can customize these on your page. This is an organization page. This is a business page, so a personal profile will look a little different. So we can go down here. Again, we could go and check out, we have the City of Claremont. They have a Facebook page, and you can go down through here and see what they've been posting. And so you'll also notice that recent posts are up here at the top. And then there will be a little separation. There's some recommendations and reviews. This is a section that Facebook has changed over time. It's a little different than it used to be. They used to have a 5-star rating, or you can rate it 1 to 5 stars. But now it's really, do you recommend City of Claremont? Yes or no? As opposed to 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star. Then we have videos that they've posted, photos that they've posted, and then it gets into older posts that aren't as recent, and just kind of go through that. And so real quick, let's go ahead and move over the difference. Actually, real quick, what I wanted to do and show you the difference. So I'm still here on Claremont's page. I want to go back to active Claremont. So we're going to go, we're going to hold on 1 second here. We're going to go back. Okay, so we're going to go back to active Claremont's page. And you'll notice, for example, I posted recently, an article to the Zoom meeting. This was posted by the City Council about a recent meeting that they had. And you'll notice how long, there's a little link here. This is a lengthy post. There's a lot of text here. So anytime that you exceed what Facebook has defined as a lot of text, they'll automatically put in this continue reading, and you'll see that the post goes longer. This is a lot of text. And so you'll see I even had to refresh the page, but not refresh, but it took me to a separate page to be able to get all this in here. And the reason why I wanted to show you that is because if we come over and look at the mobile version of Facebook, give me 1 second to change. One-man operation here, so I'm doing my best. So I appreciate you bearing with me. So if we move then over to the mobile version, I have my phone up here. And so now you see this is our Facebook page as it looks on my phone. And so obviously it's not taking up nearly as much space, and it's definitely all down the center. And so if I scroll down to that post right here, it's an awful lot of text to have to read on a phone, on a tiny screen. It looks great. Hopefully it looks good on on the computer screen here. But on my phone, it's just a lot of text. And so that's what I was talking about when I said that Twitter and Instagram are very different in that they're more of the streamlined, mobile-friendly version of Facebook. That's what they're going for with their platforms. And so if we go back here, we're going to go back over here and I'll show you Instagram now. So that's Facebook. And actually, while we're at it, one last thing I wanted to make sure that I covered was going back into Active Claremont, photos, the orientation of photos. So we're on a wide screen. You can see wide screen, considered landscape mode if you're familiar with photography terms. And if we go into some photos here, I think this photo is a good example. This was taken at, no, this is an Instagram photo. So you'll see that it's actually a square. This was taken at a forum for Measure SC. And you'll see that the aspect ratio is a square. So this isn't a profile picture, this isn't or a portrait picture, a landscape picture. Instagram is known for the 1:1 aspect ratio. And you can change that, but with Facebook, you can also post, like this was an I voted picture, also posted on Instagram. Let's see, I think most of these were posted on Instagram. Let's see if I have any that are like a profile picture. Here's a better, did these come from Instagram too? I'm just curious. So here's a longer. You'll see that this is not a square. It looks a little longer this way. And this is when Brian Bocock won the Volunteer of the Year in 2018. I got to present him with that. So you can share your photos, can be in landscape or portrait mode, and Facebook will automatically size them appropriately. So the difference, why that matters, why that's important, is now I want to go over and show you Instagram here. So here is our Instagram page. Let me reload it and make sure we got the most pages, or the most up-to-date pages. So here's our Instagram feed on the computer, and this is what it looks like. And you'll see photos are very large, but a lot of these are 1:1 aspect ratio, so it's a square photo here. Somebody down here has posted, the Claremont Village has posted a landscape photo, but you'll notice that if I get it to right about, if I make it the top of the screen, this is one of the things, this is the marketing brain of mine. So here's the top of their post. And so you look at how much, it's definitely an interesting photo, and not to knock on Claremont Village at all, but one of the things to know about Instagram is you're sort of encouraged to post in a 1:1 format or in portrait mode, because phones, as you know, are typically held up and down. And so typically you'll see people scrolling through top to bottom, not so much left to right. So you're sort of encouraged by Instagram to post in this bigger, or in this 1:1 ratio. And I'll show you what I mean when you're on the computer at least. You'll see how much space that this photo takes up. It's very, very limited. The post is still larger, the whole post itself from corner to corner. But if you scroll up to this 1:1 ratio, we'll make sure we'll line it up with the top. Look how much more prominent that picture is. So as you're scrolling through photos and photos and photos, these larger, any photo that takes up larger screen area is probably going to catch someone's eye quicker. And so that's sort of a little marketing tendency that I have. With videos, it's a little different. And you'll see like this one is somebody, the Village. Now I can praise the Village here. It looks like this is a longer aspect ratio. And we're going to talk about that. I'm going to show you that. And so one of the ways around it, I'm really glad that our Instagram feed is cooperating with us like this. So here's from Middle Tree. They posted in what's called layouts. You can post multiple pictures. You can combine them into one post. So rather than having to swipe, you can see the photo that they took here and then the photo that they put here, and they merge these together to be one post. And so there's programs that do that, and also Instagram has a feature called layouts that allow you to do that. Here's the Claremont Village posting a much larger. So here we go. This is what I'm talking about. Take a look at this for a second, and look how big this picture is, right? It just takes up almost my whole screen on a 1080 19 by 20, 1920 by 1080 aspect ratio, it takes up top to bottom almost the whole screen. But if we go back and look at this photo, line it up with the top, it takes up about half, a little less. On my screen, at least, it's about half of the screen. So there's a difference. So we're going to talk about that. So again, you can kind of see there's not a lot of information, even the text that appears. It's very streamlined. And the reason for that is Instagram is designed to be more mobile friendly. So let's go back up and let's now take a look. Change my screen over here. And now I want to go to Instagram. All right. So now we have Instagram, and up at the top here you'll see stories, and you'll see the little colored circle around these people that we follow, these organizations that we follow. This is their story. So for example, I don't know if I have audio on. I don't think I do. I don't know if audio will play in my screen format that I have that's sharing my screen, but if I go and look at their village story, for example, look at the timeline at the top. This is how you can see, I moved to the Claremont Club's story, but at the top, we'll go over that real quick. At the top of the screen, you're going to see little bars, kind of dash marks you'll see. It's actually the timeline moving through different posts that they made. So they posted this first, the way you kind of read it, left to right. This was posted first, and then this. And then if I tap on the screen, I can actually skip and move to the next, or I can go backwards if I tap the other way, and you'll see that we're moving through. So these are all the things that they've posted in the last 24 hours. You can see that these were posted 20 hours ago. This was 17 hours ago, 1 hour ago, 7 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago. So that's stories. Now here's a regular post from the city of Claremont. We saw that on their Facebook page too. And you'll notice, again, streamlining, there's much less text that's showing down here. If I hadn't clicked show more, it was only showing me the first line or so, and then about 2 lines on KeckGrad's page here, and then there's a little more button, and if I click the more button, it'll expand it, and then I can see. And you can see here that they used hashtags to connect it to the crisis that we're getting, and 3D printing, and device engineer, so that this person made that mask, it looks like. So that's cool. And here's somebody that tagged Claremont Village in this post. They tagged Eureka Claremont. So if I click on the little blue, you can see it'll take me to Eureka Claremont. So for example, as Active Claremont, we follow Claremont Village, but we don't follow Eureka Claremont. No offense. Hang on, I'll fix that right now. Here we go. There you go. Sorry, Eureka Claremont. I'm sorry. So now we're following, and so now we can also see who else we're followed by, and these are some of the people we also follow. And then we can go through and see that this is their profile, and these are the posts that they've put up over time. These could be months ago. The difference is this isn't their story. Their story here around their profile picture, you notice that colored circle again. That means that there's something new that I haven't seen because I haven't seen their story before. So if I watch the story, we can go through and see their story. You can post time. Oh, yeah, countdown timers. That's cool. And the difference is between that, kind of the little about section up here on their profile, and then you scroll down, the difference is their profile, if I go into this post here, they posted multiple pictures. Instagram only allows you to post 10 pictures or videos in one post, so they posted 2. And so if you scroll, you'll see the first picture that they posted, and scroll again, the second picture that they posted. Same down here, 2 pictures. Let's see if they posted more than... Probably not. So let's go back to ours, because I know that I have. It's been a little while, but here's one of our litter pickups that we did, and you'll see up in the top right that I have 1 of 9 was selected. So if I scroll over, these are all the photos but it only shows them one at a time. If I click on it, it doesn't do anything. And then the other thing that we talked about in terms of, we didn't talk about this with Facebook, but for example, if you're following somebody, and I've beat up on the Village a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and apologize to them by liking their post there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean anything by it. I love you guys, so don't take any offense. If I wanted to comment, I could, and so we could type a little comment here. You can put emojis and things like that. The other button that you'll see here is I could send a message to the Village, and these are other people that we've sent messages to. So that's what that means. And if you wanted to post something, for example, what I was talking about, the last thing that I want to talk about with Instagram, for example, is posting. I have this picture here, and this is in the 1-to-1 aspect ratio. So this pulls up all of the photos that I have that I've saved to my phone recently, and you'll notice that this picture here, when I originally clicked on it, the text is cut off, it's not showing all of it, and it's allowing me to crop this photo. But you'll notice this little icon right over here will allow me to make the picture change aspect ratios. So now it fills, this is what I was talking about, it'll use more of that screen size. Instagram will reward you, or not necessarily reward you, but I treat it like it's rewarding for having a square picture or a portrait picture. If you go landscape, it will trim and make it shorter. It won't be as tall. But Instagram likes people using their phones top to bottom, like we talked about, not left to right. And so if you keep portrait pictures, basically tend to lend themselves to that format. So if you keep that in mind, you can actually squeeze a little bit more screen real estate out of people that are just scrolling through photos, and you want to kind of catch their eye. That's a great way to do that. That Instagram, they certainly don't tell you about it, but it's something that's really important to know if you're running an Instagram account. So that is my presentation on social media accounts. I know we didn't cover everything. We didn't get into how to post on Facebook, for example. It's very similar, very easy. We can go over that real quick. I still have everything up. But the difference, for example, on Facebook, on a computer, there's some limitations while I'm setting that up. There's some limitations with Instagram. I don't believe you can post anything from your computer. You can browse. You might be able to post pictures, but not videos. There was some sort of limitation like that. They really want you, Instagram does, want you to be using a phone. So yeah, you can browse through pictures that have been posted, but there's a lot less and more limited engagement that they have set up there. So let's go ahead and go back to our computer screen here. And if I go right at the top here, at the top of my profile or our profile, since this is a profile that I manage, the very first thing that comes up for me is I could go live or I could write a post here. And when I click on write a post, all these options come up. So if I wanted to post a video or a photo, I could. If I wanted to attach a feeling or an activity, so what a lot of people will do is like if I'm attending an event, we could go down here and, hey, I'm tagging myself, check in at the Village, Claremont Village, and, it'll tag all this stuff, and I'm feeling, let's see, I'm eating. What time? We're eating dessert, something like that. There we go. We're stopping by at Burt and Rockies, something like that. And then when I can put a little, verbiage in here. Won't really do anything, and then post it, and that gets put onto my news feed. That would show up here. This is the first post that I have pinned here. So it's something that I wanted to highlight. It was Alice Williams winning the Volunteer of the Year last year, and our 2018 winner, Brian Bocock, awarding her with that. But then right after that, it would post down here, post below this. So because this is a pinned post, and you'll see I tagged us at Larkin Park, and so if I clicked on Larkin Park, for example, I could see No, this is giving me a warning because I was creating a post, but we'll go ahead and leave. So here are all the posts that people have tagged themselves at being at Larkin Park. So here's just stuff like that. Oh, there's me, actually. Me, my son, my wife. So anyways, you can see all of the potential that's there. So with that, I'm going to end my presentation, and now seems like a good time to go into the Q&A portion. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in live chat. I'll go through the chat over here, and I'll get you the answers. So thank you very much for your time, and if you have any questions, I'm ready to answer them now. Okay, so I know we didn't cover everything that we possibly could have. I want to, let's go into the first question was, I know what it was. Which platform do I think is the most user-friendly? I would say probably Twitter is the most user-friendly. Because it limits, it's like what we talked about. It's limited in what you can do with it, and by design. It wants you to. It's kind of a different way of spending more time on the platform. There's so much information, but it's so condensed. Basically, you can only have so many thoughts and posts in a day. So that as a user, you can go through lots and lots and lots of tweets and not really get tired. So you could, you can spend a lot of time on that. And answering a question that you had down below too is, which is the most addictive? Alexandra asked this question. I would say probably for that reason, the most addictive would be Twitter, just simply because you can go through so much information and not feel exhausted. I feel like on Facebook, because you can get news, you can get entertainment, you can get gaming, you can get shopping, you can get all sorts of different things. You almost get tired with how much there is on Facebook, whereas with Twitter, it's a little more condensed. So if you're just kind of surfing hashtags and stuff like that, you could spend just hours and hours and hours checking stuff out and seeing what people are saying and what people think. What about Nextdoor from Brian? Nextdoor is it's kind of a different type of program, I would say. And I personally don't have a ton of experience with it. I know my parents and my wife use it a lot. It's really more, and you answered your own question here lower, it's more for your local community and not so much trying to connect with a bunch of different people and multiple countries and things like that. So I think that Nextdoor, there's kind of a valuable service there. But again, it's not really what I think would be considered a social media platform. It's almost more like a Craigslist, like an online classifieds, but there's like news rolled in too. So it's kind of like a police blotter and crime in your area. I know a lot of people do that. And there's also, with the smart doorbells and cameras and security systems, Ring, for example, has an app called Neighbors. And what's cool about Ring is I'm able to use the Neighbors app even though I don't have a Ring. And so I can actually see other people will post pictures from their doorbell and, hey, this guy knocked on my door. Do any of you recognize him? And even though I'm not a Ring customer, I can actually still, identify, hey, that's like a block away from me. And yeah, I think I saw him getting into a car. So there's lots and lots and lots of different apps and platforms and other companies that are out there trying to do their own thing. I'm not really as familiar with Nextdoor. I know it's great. I know people love using it just because it keeps you more informed. It's like I would describe it as how people use it that I know as it's like a local newspaper. Just it's all that information that I want to get from a social media platform, but just about my community, my neighbors, what's going on in my neighborhood. Things that I don't even know about, and if I'm on a bigger platform, I might miss because it just goes flying by. There's so much content. Claremont Connects, Alexander, you mentioned that. Yeah, I like Claremont Connects. They're on Instagram too. And if you tag, there's a couple times where we've tagged them and they'll share our post. So they're pretty cool. And Diana, yeah, you mentioned about Twitter. Brian, you mentioned wanting to know more about Twitter. Twitter's really handy for information in terms of distilling some of the things. Like Facebook used to be really known for, people would play games on it. I'm not sure if that's really still there. And Twitter, as far as I know, doesn't have any of that. So it's kind of more just following thoughts and ideas and conversations. And it's probably, as we said, it's probably one of the more user-friendly just because it is kind of limited. So, for example, with Instagram, for example, you can't really make a post unless you post a picture. And so I know people that I don't, like, what am I going to take a picture of? I don't even know how to use the camera on my phone. I barely use it for anything. I don't understand these aspect ratios or any of that. So, and because you need to post a picture or a video, Instagram's kind of not your option. So if that's you, I would say Twitter's probably a really good option, especially if you're starting out. It's very different from Facebook. Some people might like that. Some people might not like it. Yeah, and as Diana mentioned, I think they're up to 280 now. I think they doubled it from 140. So that limits the number of characters, including spaces. So when you're typing, all those letters and spaces and punctuation marks count as characters. And Twitter only lets you type, it used to be, I think, 140, and I think they increased it. I want to say it's doubled. And then, so what most people do is if you have something lengthy to say, they'll post multiple tweets and then, link them all together. So that's kind of Twitter. It's I would say it's the most user friendly if you're coming from nothing and just or if you're familiar with Facebook and going to Twitter, you'll probably pick it up pretty quick. Instagram does have a lot of filters, and like I said, it's kind of Instagram's probably I would say it's probably the least user friendly. Just because, like I said, you have to kind of be interested or have some knowledge of your phone and the camera and all that, and actually have stuff that you want to take pictures of. And I know people that just aren't into that, and so I think that that's a huge barrier for some people to get over. They're just not interested. They like Facebook more than Instagram because I don't care about the pictures, or I don't want to get into that. I do want to talk about Zoom. Zoom is different, but I do want to talk about Zoom. I've got a couple of things I want to say. I tested out going live by sharing the city council's Zoom meeting, and I noticed a few flaws. Not just the technical issues that they have, but actually some security issues that Zoom has that I want you to be aware of. I want everybody to be aware of. So I'm going to come back to Zoom in a second. In my opinion, which is the most addictive? Like I said, I think it's Twitter because it's the most user-friendly. You can spend so much time on it. Like with Instagram, you'll scroll through pictures and pictures and pictures, but then you get kind of tired maybe, and you're not interested in the pictures. And same with Facebook. Facebook, you get inundated with news and all sorts of other things. That's why people don't like LinkedIn, for example. They want to be able to kind of have their profile out there, but then it's all these recruiting articles, and it feels kind of salesy. And people don't like that. So the most addictive, I think, would be Twitter, just because double-edged sword. It's the most user-friendly, so you can spend a lot of time on it without getting tired. How to share this video. So if you're on our YouTube page, there's a share button. It's got a little arrow going, and in there you can send that in an email, but you can also, if you're on a phone or on a computer, there'll be a link that you can copy and paste. And so that's kind of how you can link to this video on your social media pages. I figured that most people, this is kind of a remedial meeting. I know that a lot of people, obviously, like I shared this on social media, so I figured that anybody that's coming to this already knows a little bit about Facebook. Maybe they don't know much about Instagram, or they don't know anything about Twitter, but they have some familiarity. But I again, this was just sort of a test meeting. Next month, we're going to have the Chamber of Commerce is going to present, and we're going to create a conference call with them. Let's see. You can block people on all these platforms. Yeah, blocking people. Blocking is a. You can also mute. So talking about blocking people, yeah, I think that a lot of conversations get kind of squashed. People get kind of focused on the conversation and kind of lose the humanity of the situation. You're just, pounding away at the keyboard with somebody you don't even know. So, and that winds up with a lot of blocking. But I know that like Twitter, you can mute people, or with Facebook, for example, you can follow a page without actually liking it. So you're not necessarily going to get every single post, but you will get some posts. There's all sorts of different ways that you can kind of tailor that. Streaming on YouTube is, at least the last time I checked, streaming on YouTube is far better than streaming on Facebook. Facebook has a lot of video issues. Speaking from a video standpoint, just as a video guy, there's quality issues. Even though we would record in 1080, or the video gets scaled down just cause. All sorts of stability issues, things like that. So it's not quite there. Their main focus isn't that. They just want to compete enough. It's kind of Facebook's model is we just want to be good enough. It's, even though most screens are 1080 now and even higher, and phones are starting to get into the 4K range, a lot of their videos are still coming out 720, and that's okay by them. Sometimes you'll get even less because it's a weird. If you record on your phone, the screen's a little off, so you'll wind up with like a 640 instead of a 720, so it's even smaller. There's all sorts of different stuff like that that comes into play. So YouTube, especially from a setup like what we're doing, not that I'm a little biased, I would think, because we're streaming on YouTube now. YouTube is much better for actually putting up and creating videos. See, Channel 5 uses Instagram a lot, and Twitter for pictures sent to them. Yeah, and that's, again, there's kind of a cross-platform. You can share when you're in Instagram. That's I can probably bring that up. Let me see if I can bring this up. Give me 1 second. It takes just a second to bring that other window up, but I can bring up my phone again. So if we go over to Active Claremont, see, this is my Instagram page, but we want to go to Active Claremont. When you post a picture, let's go to, where was that one I had? Right, this one. If I wanted to actually share this, so you've got Twitter, Tumblr. That's the one I couldn't think of. So when you're posting something, you can click here to post it to Facebook. You can go Twitter. Now it makes me want to sign in, or Tumblr makes you want to sign in. But that's all from Instagram. So that's kind of cool. Sorry for blasting the screen there. Let me go back to this screen here. Yeah. Again, one-man show. Sorry, I am doing my best. All right. Let's get to more if you have any questions. I wanted to talk about Zoom. Really important stuff. Quality is an issue on Facebook. Yep. YouTube is it's just more stable. It's what YouTube set out to do. Like, you got to remember that with these social media platforms, Facebook started completely different than what they're doing now. Instagram was doing its own thing, and rather than figuring out how they did it, Facebook just bought them and brought it in. And they don't necessarily believe in it. That's not really something that they believe in. So, as opposed to if it were their idea, it's their baby and they want to see it grow. So I think that happens a lot. So like YouTube, for example, there's community pages and different things where you can go and post stuff, and that's their version of trying to get into the social media platform game. And so everybody kind of has, every platform that you can think of has some of these features, not all of the features, but they only do a select few of the features really well. So in terms of if my main purpose is video quality, YouTube's where I'm going to go. If it's not about video, it's more about photos, but I still want quality. It would be Instagram is more important than anything else. And there are YouTubers now that don't even have Facebook pages, whereas there were some YouTubers when I was growing up that the only way you found out about them, their YouTube channel, was because they were on Facebook. And now it's kind of swinging the other way, where you'll hear a YouTuber that you really follow. He's like, oh, by the way, I have my Facebook, so if you want to follow me there too, it's cool. It's kind of interesting to kind of grow and see how things have changed. Everybody's obviously on Twitter. So that's kind of your quick way of getting to people without them having to produce a full video and for you to sit down and watch a 20-minute video. And there's also ebbs and flows like that. So as YouTube grows and starts promoting, right now they really like videos that are longer than 10 minutes. And so that's a lot of pressure on content creators to bump their... what about MySpace? What? I'm sorry, what? Friendster? What's Friendster? I don't know. Anyways, I had a MySpace page. So anyway, it's probably still out there. It's probably not. But so anyways, back to Zoom. Real quick with Zoom. Brian, be careful with Zoom. There's nothing wrong. Don't sign up for it. Yes, use the free features. Diana mentioned that it's free. Absolutely use the free features. But one of the concerns I had with the city council, and I sent it out in an email, and I don't know, I know it came to the board, but I don't know that Bill was able to send it out to anybody, and I didn't tell him to. But one of the things with Zoom is if you call in, it looks like the city, for the city council meeting, they enabled it so that you could log in with a webcam like I'm doing now and participate in the video conference, but you could also pick up the phone and dial in. The problem with that I was noticing, because we were live streaming, we were sharing that video, but up in the upper corner, or up in it's the center of the screen, when somebody starts talking, Zoom tells you who's talking. And for anybody that called in and used a phone, it was posting their phone number. And that's going to the internet. Like, the city's going to post that on the website, potentially, I assume. And that's going to be created for the public record, right? Well, if you called in on your personal cell phone, or worse, you still have a landline, you called in on your landline, your phone number just got posted on the internet. That's why I prefer Google Meets. It's a version of... They had Google, if you have a Gmail account, you can use Google Hangouts, which is just like Zoom. But what I like about... they now have they've updated that. They're going to get rid of Hangouts, and they're bringing in something called Google Meet, or some people call it Google Hangouts Meet. It's the same thing. And Hangouts is going to be going away, and Meet is going to replace it. But right now they have them both, so that's kind of confusing. But what I like about using Google Meet is when we did the board meeting using Google Meet, the people that called in, I was one of them, it automatically put stars in the phone number. So it only showed the first two and maybe the last two of the phone number, so you could kind of differentiate who was who. But then it automatically anonymized the phone number, so it wasn't actually broadcast. So that's my only complaint with Zoom, because I've been using Zoom too, and I know that a lot of people, when they first log in, even when you're using it for free, it asks you to put in your name or something. And if you don't put in your name, you also have to put in an email. If you don't put in your name, it will show your email on the screen. And so when you talk and it highlights your video and it comes up and it's your talking, your email is posted on the screen. So if that screen is being shared or broadcast or posted, then your email is on the internet. And so definitely I only put in my first name, for example. I don't sign up for any of that stuff. And I make sure to take out, if it gives me the option to take out the last name, I take out the last name. They just need to know that Matt is talking, so that's more than enough. And so that was my only concern with Zoom. I know they were in the news a lot anyways, because a lot of people didn't know about them, and so they saw a massive increase, a massive spike in users when this whole quarantine kicked off, because it was free, and they weren't quite ready for it. So there were some other security issues as well. How you get around that is just don't create an account. If you're participating with an agency, or like the city council had to create a business account, I would assume, that's fine that they registered. But if you're an individual user and you don't have to register, you can just, like Diane was saying, just log in and use the free. Somebody sends you a link and a passcode, just do that. That's great. Again, don't call in with a phone. I would not. I don't know. Having used Zoom, I don't know how to anonymize it. I don't know, because if you're calling in on a phone, you can't enter your name. Like, you can't change what it says. It's just gonna grab your caller ID and post it, right? So not knowing, me personally, not knowing how to advise you how to do that. And to see the downside there with the city, the other aspect of it was some of the council people and staff that were talking had to switch. They were having issues with their computer and they had to switch and call in. So now I've got their phone number. Like I don't, because I deleted all that stuff and I deleted our video when we were posting it because I don't want any of that. But it's showing up on the screen, so they're trying to fix the audio issues. Oh, just call into the meeting. Okay. Anytime they talk, their phone number flashes on the screen. So that's a big issue with Zoom. And so that's kind of I feel, especially as a tech guy or a somewhat tech guy, I feel like ending this conversation, this live stream on a security, be careful with what you post. Kind of tone. I feel like that's pretty good. I don't see any other questions that have come in. Everyone's probably rushing to purge all the Zoom stuff, I would assume. Oh my gosh, I got to get in there. Yeah, and Chris, yeah, we use that. We've been using that for we've been using Zoom for a couple things. And we use Zoom, and I know Jill registered for it, but I made her go and take all that off. They don't need, if it's just a free app and I don't have, I'm not planning on hosting my own Zoom meeting, then I'm not going to register for it. I'll join on anybody who is hosting. I'd rather do that. And other than that, I would strongly recommend, everybody here, it looks like, has a Gmail account. So you have access to Google Meet. I would recommend using Google Meet. Very large water group. If you register, do they still put your name and number up? Yeah, if you register, that's how it knows who's who. So I think you can blank out your name once you're registered, but there is sort of a security reason too. If somebody logs on and is causing trouble, you want to be able to figure out who that is so you can block them. But again, like I said, if you're logging in with, I don't know about Zoom. Personally, I've never used the phone, and so that's why I'd never called in to a Zoom meeting. I always connect with my camera, and every time I log in with my camera, it lets me change my nickname. So I'm comfortable with that. That's fine, because at least it gives me some anonymity. But like I said, with the city council, I don't think that people realized that everyone who was talking, there were citizens, there were residents that were talking too. Anybody that called in to the number that was broadcast, those numbers didn't get anonymized. So maybe, in post, I don't know, maybe they can just crop that out, and that will be fine. But as I was watching it, I was able to see. So if I were some nefarious person, I could be sitting there just taking all the phone numbers down. And so that's kind of, what I would caution people about. Like I said, I would urge you, if you have the option, everyone here has Gmail, use Google Meets or Google Hangouts, because so Brian, one of the things, we have a business account with Google, and I can actually have I can host a meeting with up to 250 people, can either call in or connect with their webcam or anything like that. 250 people. With a business account, and it's not, if this is going to be any, going on any longer, and frankly, as more people, even when this thing is lifted and over, I think a lot of people are going to like being able to connect remotely. It's kind of forcing people who hadn't adopted this to some extent to adopt it to some degree. So we're all going to be smarter in this area. I think it's worth the money, but also the safety, the security of just knowing that Google automatically puts that in there. I don't work for Google. This video is not sponsored by Google. I should probably say that. But in my experience, that's my concern with Zoom. If there's a way to fix it, then great. I would love to hear about it. Put it in the comments. I don't know about it, so I would just caution you, because I know you called into our our meeting, Brian, you called in on your phone. So I would urge you not to do that with Zoom. Try to log in on a laptop with a camera or something like that, where you can just put in your name and nothing else. And so none of that, you kind of have control over what's being shared. Even if, best case scenario, nothing gets shared, that would be awesome. But even if, like Chris is talking about, if something gets shared, at least you have control over it was just my first name, so who cares? Okay, fair enough. So with that, if there are no other questions, I don't see anything. I appreciate you guys being here again next month. The third Thursday at 7 o'clock, we're going to have another of our meetings. This is going to be the format that we have going forward. The city of Claremont did cancel the 4th of July, and I think we are put out to I think we extended the quarantine to June. Bare minimum. So May, we will probably still not be able to meet, even if the personal quarantines are lifted. We probably still won't be able to use city facilities to meet. So we're planning to do something very similar to this for May. So definitely check that out. This video will be saved on our page here. So that link that you're able to copy and share with people, that will be good. They can come and watch this whole thing, or kind of fast forward or rewind or any of that to the part where I was ripping on Zoom. That was great. Anyways, thanks for being here, and I am going to go ahead and end the stream here. So thanks again, and we will see you in May.